You talk a lot about layered solutions where there's not one foolproof solution or this magic tech solution to all our problems. So there again are a lot of misconceptions about something solving a problem or being the end all be all of online safety. So in your opinion, can you tell us a little bit more about some of these security measures that are being proposed right now and whether or not you see them as an effective solution or what the effective solutions you see are when it comes to digital safety?
Well, if I had children today, um, three things I would immediately do is first of all, is I would have a dialogue with the children and be very involved in their digital world, meaning I would know every app, everything that is on their phones or in their iPads that you give them. And when you give them any pad, including Androids, what's important is you get involved in their activities. You understand the activities. You go into the same chat forums they go into. Take a look at their posts. And if you see things you don't like, don't immediately start um, fussing at them or yelling. Instead, what I suggest is start to seek understanding and give them a time for self-correction, correct them back into good behavior. The reason this is important is children today have the world at their fingertips, so they can always find an opposing view to yours. And that's what they're going to rely on to justify whatever they're doing against your will. So what you don't want to have is a battle of will. What you actually want to have is a dialogue with them. You want them to be involved. And what I try to say to parents that ask me this is become their accountability partner, but have them also look at your phone. Now, this is where it gets really tricky,
Mm-hmm.
and parents usually look at me and go, no way. Well, this is the deal. The truth is, if you're willing to be accountable to your children, that will increase the actual probability that they're going to be accountable back. So I really recommend this first technique. And I know this is the one that is not technologically bound. Second one is I would definitely put an app on the phone to actually monitor all the children's activities. And Kim, you know some of
Mm-hmm.
those apps, and I'm going to let you name some of them because it's something you've actually been working with. But those apps are great, but the problem is we know some kids are very tech savvy and will jump over them by going either to a friend's house or using a VPN or other forms of by extension, they just figure out ways around these apps that try to lock the kid down into a playground that you set up for them. Well, the problem is that you might lock the playground down, but understand when your child goes to school, he gets access to people's phones that are not broke or that are not locked down and might get right back on and do everything that you don't want them to do. That is why I always advocate that it's a layered approach because you also want to have a relationship with your children. You want to see what they're actually looking at as much as you have an app on there to put them into your world, your worldview too, all the apps you approve. And then finally, the third one, and this is a super important side to this, which is everyone in the family has to, in my opinion, have an occasional technology day where everyone talks about digital hygiene. For example, email fifing. That is when someone attacks you trying to send you an email or a text. It can be text fifing, and where basically texts are sent and they're trying to solicit you to give up personal information, and it will usually be like your water bill's unpaid, your internet bill's not paid, Wells Fargo you owe money to, or something just weird. But the bottom line is, so many people fall for these attempts in texts, and kids can fall for them too. And before you know it, you're entering information you shouldn't be entering, and these are really bad actors. And once they get that information, they use it against you. So it's super important that you never just plunge in on emails or on text and give private information out. I always recommend that you call the companies and make sure that it's legitimate what you're doing, but be very careful. Don't rely on texts and emails any longer to be truly factual. The way they hack the email systems can look so legitimate. And it's very easy to fall for it. So I say check with the company by phone first before you do anything. Kim, what do you think of that?
I agree. So I love your balanced approach as always, where you have this extensive knowledge of technology and you're very realistic about the risks and the solutions. But there's also so much that's required of us as humans, and we can't take ourselves out of the equation, whether it's parents protecting children, whether we're relying on parental control apps, which we do recommend that parents use. However, it's not a replacement for parenting or for oversight or for communication and prevention.
Absolutely. There's no substitute to getting involved. I I just wrote a book, Kill a Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity, and it's available everywhere. It's really cool that in the book, I cited examples of what happened with my family and what happened to other people. And to realize that today you have Zuckerberg actually getting up and admitting, for example, that he was pressured to actually censor people. And also, he got up formally to actually apologize to parents. Now, I understand these things were done under duress, but what's important is we're starting to wake up to a reality that big tech and all of us have a responsibility. It's not just us and it's not just the parents, but it's also big tech. It's also the world. It's all of us. And one of the areas that we're just a little shy on, and I'm sad about this, because we have now politically deadlocked ourselves as a country to where we no longer can have these really important conversations to protect our kids. Because unfortunately, as soon as you get into some of the topics, it becomes very political. So, what I want to do is stop this dead in its tracks. We're not going to do politics. We are going to do solutions. We are going to talk to people, and we want people to talk to us back, educate us, explain how and what we can do to protect not just our children, but all of us. And one thing is important is that I'm an immigrant to the United States. I was born in England, grew up in Switzerland, and then transferred to high school here. That's why I have very little accent. But because of my strange and extraordinary circumstances, which is in the book, and you guys can look me up and find that out. But in those extraordinary circumstances, I literally got to see the world. And we're so lucky to live in this incredible country. It, I hope that we can start to have dialogue with each other and actually start solving these issues. So when we talk about a multi-layered approach, I'm also talking about everyone I'm speaking to tonight, all of you guys. You're the approach. You are the solution. Because if each and everyone listening to us would just go to their local schools, the ISDs, and find out what are they doing to protect children. Then you move up to the local town and the mayor and town meetings, and then you move up the ladder to state meetings, and then you move eventually one day to the federal level.